Duke is a narrow-gauge tender engine that works on the Skarloey Railway. He is one of the oldest and famous engines who does his very best to complete his work. He used to work on the Mid-Sodor Railway with Sir Handel and Peter Sam, who used to be known as Stuart and Falcon, but it ended up closing down. Duke was closed up in his shed, but in a couple of years ended up being rescued by some explorers. Duke is now very proud that he is part of the Skarloey Railway, and ended up making some new friends, which were Skarloey, Rheneas, Rusty, and Duncan. One day, Duke was hanging out in the shed with the other narrow gauge engines. Sir Handel and Peter Sam were also there as well. "I still can't believe I've been rescued all those years ago by those explorers," said Duke. "It feels amazing to be on rails again and doing so much amazing work." "I'm sure it is," said Skarloey. "I know if I was in the same situation as you, I would be thankful that I've been rescued as well." "Exactly," said Rheneas. "We are very proud to have you part of our railway." "Thank you very much," said Duke. "It feels amazing to finally get to stretch my wheels again." "And you'll be able to do plenty of that here, Granpuff," said Peter Sam. "We also heard so much about you from Sir Handel and Peter Sam," said Rusty. "They've told us all your stories when the three of you used to be on the Mid-Sodor." "So it was you two youngsters that ended up telling all about me so that the explorers would come." "Of course, Granpuff," said Sir Handel. "You know that we would never forget about you. You were one of the best engines we've ever met in our entire life." "Exactly," said Peter Sam. "We always love spending time with you, even if you were kind of strict at times." "Well, that's just part of because of my age," said Duke. "You know I have to keep you youngsters in order." "But," said Sir Handel boastfully, "I know that I was one of the best engines on the Mid-Sodor." "You mean even that one time when you almost fell off the mountain?" laughed Peter Sam. "Luckily, Granpuff was there to rescue you." "I remember that day all too well," said Duke. Sir Handel said nothing else and just became very furious. "Well, that's just 'cause I wanted to see the view. That's all. But you know that you have to pay attention to the track. And let's not forget that one time I helped you out, Stuart." "Oh, I remember," said Peter Sam, remembering the day when Duke had to push him to the top station. "We had some amazing adventures of our own," said Skarloey, "on this very railway. Like this one time when I ended up having to take a big, important train of passengers, and one of my springs ended up breaking when I went to go to deliver the passengers, but I still made it to the top station." "And even that other time," said Rheneas, when I ended up stopping in the wrong place, but I wouldn't give up, and I ended up bringing my passengers to the top station as well. They ended up calling me a gallant old little engine. So much has happened right before you came here, Granpuff. As you can tell that I got myself a new funnel. And it happened when I ended up going to collect some slate trucks from the quarry. They ended up crashing right into me. But it was all Sir Handel's doing. Well, you know I don't like being around trucks, said Sir Handel crossly. Those stupid things. They always like to be jerks and call me names for no reason. But, he said happily, I did ended up later on getting these nice little special wheels. But I ended up also getting into an argument with this crazy steamroller named George. Well, I said Duke, that certainly is a lot of great adventures that you have had over here. What about you, youngster Duncan? Huh, I got nothing to talk about, said Duncan, so why don't you mind your business? Duncan, said Skarloey, don't be so rude to Duke. Yeah, Duncan, said Rheneas, Duke is one of the greatest engines ever. He's very famous, you know. And let's not forget about that time you ended up getting stuck in a tunnel because of rock and roll. Why do you have to remind everybody about that? Who cares if I like doing rock and roll? You just don't understand. Looks like you need to hear about the story of Smudger, said Duke. Oh, please, Granpuff, said Sir Handel and Peter Sam. Can we please tell them the story of Smudger? You youngsters can't even tell the story that very well. I'm the one that knows it the best, so I'm the one that will do it. Smudger, said Duke, was a show-off. He rode roughly and often came off the rails, and always caused lots of accidents. I warned him to be careful, but he took no notice. Listen, Dukey, he snarled, who worries about a few spills? We do here, I said, but Smudger just laughed. Hey! Until one day our manager said that he was going to make him useful at last. Smudger stopped laughing then. He turned him into a generator. He's still out there behind our shed. He'll never move again. What complete rubbish, said Duncan. That could have never happened, an engine being turned into a generator. You're just so old that you like to say all kinds of crazy, stupid things. And Duncan huffed away. We're sorry about Duncan, said Skarloey. He's always usually grumpy, said Skarloey. Ah, never you mind. That youngster will end up getting something bad happening to him. Just wait and see. Duncan was taking a train of passengers, but then, as he ended up getting to the station, something went wrong. "What's happened?" asked Duncan. You're out of coal," said his driver. "Now he won't be able to get home." Just then, Duke puffed along. "Please," said Duncan's driver, "can you pull us to the station? Duncan ran out of coal." "Of course I will," said Duke, and he ended up pushing Duncan and his whole entire train to the top station. Duncan didn't say anything. He was just very depressed that he let himself run out of coal, and he couldn't believe that it actually happened to him. Later on that night, Duncan went to go apologize to Duke. "I'm sorry, Duke," he said. "I'm sorry for calling you stupid and crazy. You are an amazing engine, that's true. I just can't believe that actually happened to me." "Well, youngster," said Duke, "you always gotta know, never say anything bad or else something bad will happen to you." Skarloey ended up chuckling. "Now you know how useful us old engines really are, Duncan," said Skarloey. Duncan said nothing. He just stayed sad and silent and ended up blushing a bit of embarrassment. Bum bum.